everybody, and welcome to Macro Talk 2. It is Thursday, I think, Thursday the 25th of September. Only a week and a half from my birthday, so you need to be planning for that, definitely. So I was up, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. I was up at the crack of dawn this morning because I said I was not going to do another live stream with a lag in my video, and yeah, I almost had to do another live stream with a lag in my video before going back to the original terrible camera, terrible sound, which is what we're on now. Absolutely driving me crazy. Let me show you what all I did this morning. This is all the equipment that I had set up and tested. It took me since last night actually to get it all going, only to discover none of it works. Well, I'm sure some of it works, but it didn't work well enough for me to be able to do a live stream. Still got a lag in it. I need to buy even more bits of equipment to get it all put together. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about what I need right now, which is a break in the action, and why it's important, and some very specific advice on how you can plan a break and use it as a way to improve your photography. Interesting concept. It's something I think about a lot. I talk to my students about this. There is nothing that will get in the way of creativity and spontaneous, really feeling it kind of photography than being tired of it. If you're tired of it, you don't want to do it. And there are some specific things that we can do in our downtime that will make us develop skills that we otherwise might not have. So I'm going to show you examples of all the stuff I've done and the stuff I suggest to my students, and see what you think about it. And I'll give you some specific ideas about, you know, when to do this and how often to do it. On Saturday we have the Presume at 10 o'clock in the morning until noon. That's our regular every 2 weeks meeting for my Patreon supporters. It's a great fun event, great place to come to learn about all kinds of things macro photography related and otherwise. It's good fun. And then this week at 12:30, following the Presume, we have Tangent, only without the Tangent. It's just me. Tangent's busy, he's got a thing he's got to do, and I understand that. He will be missed, but we will muddle by. I've learned some new stuff this week, and we'll be talking about, what are we going to talk about? Parametric modeling. Yep. Talk about the blind leading the blind. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, that's all I had for you. You have only a few days left for the competition. It's on Action, and I look forward to seeing your pictures. We'll be judging that next week. And yeah, that's it. So you've heard me say in the past that taking a well-timed break is good for your photography. It's good for whatever you do. It's good for your work. That's why we have vacations. But it's particularly good for something that we do for fun. When I was a youngster, I learned the wrong way to do things. My head is very shiny today, isn't it? It's because I've been sweating trying to get all this stuff put together. But I had a lesson I was taught by, I think, somebody in school, one of my teachers, that, you know, the way to succeed was through just persistent hard work. And if you weren't getting something, it meant you weren't working hard enough. It reminds me of a joke my mother told me 100 years ago. There was a young man rushing to get to a concert in Manhattan, and he was lost. And he saw a man walk around the corner, an elderly gentleman carrying a violin case, and he ran up to him and said, "Excuse me, sir, how do I get to Carnegie Hall?" And the elderly gentleman looked at him kindly and said, "Practice, practice, practice." Yeah. And that was kind of the way I was brought up, is if you're not getting better at something, you're not practicing hard enough. And that, to an extent, is true. You certainly can't get better at anything if you're not doing it. But after a point, there is a value in stepping away and doing something else. But just stepping away and doing something else is easier said than done. You need to have a something else to do. So in the second half of my life, we'll say, I cultivated a lot of different interests, which I keep. And I actually have not a formal schedule, but I cycle through these things. Some of them are photographic, some of them are not. But I have found every one of them to be helpful in some aspect of my photography. So I want to talk about that. You know what it's called in athletics when people do this? It's called cross-training. My wife, my departed wife, was a very avid working out person. In fact, she taught it. She in later years, she taught yoga and things like that. And she was big into cross-training. And yeah, I never quite got it back then, but I get it now. And you know, turning our mental energies, our creative energies, to something else will often allow us to draw parallels to what we love to do, our macro photography, that we wouldn't otherwise see. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And there are some specific reasons that that taking a break is good. Other than the fact that you might learn something useful, and one of them is simply to take some rest. We get fatigued when we do the same thing over and over again, even if we're thoroughly enjoying it and doing it well. We get fatigued, and when we're fatigued, we are less creative and less enthusiastic, certainly. And part of that is because our brains stop engaging with the process. Do you need your brain to focus stack? Probably not. If you've been doing it as long as I have, you can set it up and do the whole thing while you're making a menu for dinner. You don't really have to focus on it like you did when you started doing it. So when you're on autopilot, you're not learning anything. You're just going through the motions. Taking a break tends to reset to creativity. It's like rebooting your computer in a sense. Other disciplines, photographic disciplines, but also other activities, stretch us in ways that we haven't necessarily thought about, in ways we haven't been challenged before. And I'm going to give you lots of examples of this as we go along. In fact, I'm going to start, the pictures I want to show you are all examples of what I do to stretch myself, to keep my photography fresh. It's very important for me because for me, macro photography is 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. And if I don't take breaks in there to focus on other things, yeah, I would burn out very quickly. And I keep the stuff because a lot of it is photographic. I keep a record of the stuff that I do. And I was just going through my Lightroom files today and picking out almost random examples of the things that I found helpful to do. And I'm going to show those pictures not in any order, any particular order, just so that you can get a feel for what I'm talking about as we go along. And I'll be getting into some real specifics in just a second. Let me start by getting a picture up here, and then we'll. It takes both sides of my brain, I'm afraid, to move pictures around. That's one of the things I was trying to fix with this new setup, but we're not there yet. All right, hang on a second. I'm just making it fill the whole screen. There we go. All right, so the idea of doing something different doesn't have to be formal, but I'm going to suggest that at least when you start out, if you do make it something that you actually schedule into your shooting plans, you'll do it more frequently, or you'll be more likely to do it and more likely to get some benefit from it. So I love to photograph sculptures, and wherever I find them, I photograph them. This is kind of snapshot territory for me. I'm not trying to do anything artistic. I just love what I'm looking at, and I want to see more of it, so I'll take pictures like that. One of the things I'll be talking about quite a lot is landscape photography. or scenery photography is probably more the way I think about it. And I do this in two separate ways, two different ways. There is a lot we can learn about balance and geometry and atmosphere and color and perspective by doing landscape photography. Now, I do, like I say, two different types of landscape photography. This is an example of my telephone landscape photography, which is where whenever I see something that I like, I think is exciting or interesting, I will stop what I'm doing, grab my phone, and I will take a few pictures of it. Usually just to remind me where I want to come back to with a camera and take a better picture. And in just a minute I'll show you another picture of this exact same scene that was taken with a proper camera after thinking about it for a little while. So the things that landscape photography teach me are some of the big picture things. It helps me compose more interesting photographs. And you know, if you've spent the last 3 months looking at grains of sand, there's something interesting and engaging about looking at a whole beach. So using creative lighting in the studio is something we are very much in charge of. Using good lighting out in nature is something we are very much not in charge of, and we have to plan for and think about and work with. So I'll show other examples of that as we go along. But landscape photography is certainly one of the things that is a mainstay for me. I will take usually 1 week a year when I will shoot nothing but landscapes, and I'll just go shoot and I don't generally go to fancy places that are long way away and I have to fly to. I'll find landscapes near where I am, and I'll just try to come up with some interesting shots. And I'm always doing it, you know, when I have an hour or two at the weekend, I'll go find something to shoot. Another thing that I'm not going to be able to show you many examples of because it involves people, I'll show you a couple that involve me, is portrait photography. If you've never done it, it is a shockingly difficult thing to do well. This is not an example of doing it well. This is actually a picture of me cooking dinner. And yeah, it was quite delicious actually, but yeah, it's the only person photograph I felt comfortable sharing because I didn't want to reveal anybody's identity. I think I've got one more that I think will be okay to show. It's not a portrait, but I think you'll be okay with it because it's some of you. That's Alan right there, it's George right there. This was from the picnic last year. But the idea of portrait photography is it's really kind of a way to document relationships, and whether it's between the subject and the background or the light and the mood, there's all kinds of different ways that portraits speak about what's going on with a person. It's a very intimate type of photography, and if you've ever spent 3 hours trying to pose somebody using Rembrandt lighting, you will leave with a completely different take on how to use lights in macro. You know that I tend to use a lot of individual light sources when I'm doing studio macro. Well, I learned all of that from trying to photograph people and trying to photograph them in the best possible light to where it was subtle and gorgeous and fun to look at, and it gave a real atmosphere. Trying to translate that to macro photography without doing it at scale is virtually impossible. I have only one picture in all the pictures that I'm going to show you that was not taken by me. This one. Would you like to know who took this? Guess. Go on, guess. My computer took that. That is that's a made-up person that yeah, I described her to ChatGPT and asked her to show me a picture, and that's what she showed me. So that's a portrait right there of somebody that we don't have to worry about suing me because they don't exist. But there you go. What about street photography? Have you ever done street photography? Taking a weekend and going out and photographing what you find on the streets in a town, usually in a town, doesn't have to be, is one of the most difficult and exciting and challenging things that you can do. I like to do street photography. Sometimes I'll do it like this, where I actually take a tripod with me and I'm doing cityscapes and catching people at the same time. It's not really what's meant by street photography. Street photography is more about capturing moments, people's moments, and it focuses very much on people again, something that I can't do in this talk, but I have lots of examples of that as well. And I think that doing street photography, it's kind of like it's like macro on steroids. It's fast-paced, it's unpredictable. You can't possibly plan for it, and it's very unforgiving. Getting good photographs in street photography is much the same as getting good photographs in field macro, where you control virtually nothing but your own wits and being in the right place at the right time, and and seeing what you're going to shoot before it happens. That is something that in field macro is absolutely critical, and I think that doing this for a few days when you're on holiday or just taking a break at the weekend and doing this in a neighboring town will really sharpen your whole appreciation for photography on the go. Be aware of the fact that most insects are pretty tolerant of the camera. Not so with all humans. You can get in confrontations pointing cameras at people on the street, so be aware of that and be careful, especially these days. There's real stuff to be gained from carrying a camera around and seeing what you can snap in town. Let me see what else. I'm going to try to show these in some kind of useful order. I'm going to go back to landscapes for just a second, just because I do these because what I'm looking at is nice, and I want to remember it and I want to record it. But I also feel like a lot of my my studio photography uses the same kind of colors and feels. I love the soft and subtle colors in shots like this. So I'm always doing that. Even when I'm out at sunrise off on some godforsaken windy North Carolina point, when it's howling wind and the sun's just coming up, it's also a gorgeous time to take photographs, and it has a different feel, but it's certainly, again, the kind of colors and mood of this will get into my macro photography and stay there. Sometimes landscape photography and like an architectural or city photography blend together, and this is another theme that I love, is exaggerated perspective. Something I do with insect photography all the time. You've seen me show pictures of insects running towards the observer. This is the same kind of feel. It's a little ominous and very heavy, a heavy photograph. That's also a feel that I like to get with my insect shots. But I just love doing this. This is so good for my brain to get out and look at the world with a different set of eyes, and then bring my re-informed eyes back to macro and see what I can do with it. It's worth trying. One aspect of walking around street photography that I found is you run into things you weren't expecting. This is a tunnel underneath a part of London. It's a long tunnel. It doesn't look like it here. It goes on forever. And the whole thing is this wall that changes color continuously. It's like a gigantic panel of different shades, but the light was just mesmerizing to look at. I shot video of this and about 100 photographs. Only got 1 or 2 without people in them, but because it was a fairly busy tunnel. But this is the kind of thing that you can find if you just open your eyes and look. And this has crept into my macro photography a lot when I'm creating gradients to put behind insect shots. These are the kind of colors that I'll lean towards. So that's street photography, and there are so many examples of that I'd like to show you. Another thing that I enjoy is industrial photography, or the kind of thing that you find when you're snooping around in a factory or old buildings. I love that. I put aeroplane photography in that too, but I love to go to factories. I have lots of friends who are involved in making things, and I get invited to their places of work and get to take photographs of what people do to make a living. This is something I thoroughly enjoy. I don't get to do it nearly often enough, but the things you see are just so rich and interesting, and you cannot help but learn tricks for your macro photography from looking at things as interesting as a furnace full of melted brass. Yeah, not something you see every day, not something I see every day. In fact, it's not something I see any day. Another thing that I love to photograph is aeroplanes, but not big aeroplanes sitting on the ground, little aeroplanes doing death-defying things like crop dusting. When I lived down in Alabama, there were I would hear crop dusters every day during the summer, and when they were close enough, I'd jump in my car and follow the sound until I found where they were dusting crops. And they were flying in these and much smaller planes than this, and buzzing around at 3 or 4 feet off the ground, spraying crops, and flying up at the last minute to get over the trees. And I just couldn't help but stay out there in the afternoon and shoot as many pictures as I could. This guy's actually looking at me, trying to figure out what I'm up to down there. Yeah, I absolutely love this, and it is in absolutely no sense any different than going down to the pond and trying to shoot dragonflies. You have to anticipate where they're going to be. You have to be ready to fire off your shots from a stable stance as soon as the thing's in the right position, and you have to commit to it. And that's exactly the same with these aeroplanes. It's like shooting big, predictable dragonflies as they come back into their perch. If you have never done this, if you have never gone out in the fields or out in the country looking for crop dusters, or going to a little airport at the weekend to shoot little general aviation planes taking off and landing, you ought to do it, because it is some kind of fun. I really I haven't done any since I moved up, because I don't know where the aeroplanes are. I don't see many flying over, but it's a lot of fun. Recommended very highly. Back onto the industrial thing I was talking about, one of the things I like to do is just take pictures of people doing their work, especially if the circumstances are a little difficult, like it was as dark as it was in this corner of the factory. You get some really interesting and moody pictures, and when the people aren't cooperating, which is often the case, I like to see what's laying on the benches or on the floor that could make for an interesting picture. I'm not sure who besides me would find that interesting, a partially welded together horse, but I found it fascinating, and I thought it made a good, interesting picture. I ended up shooting hundreds of pictures that day of partially constructed sculptures, just because they were super interesting, and I thought they'd make for good pictures. This is a former president, just his head, at about 4 times life size. It's going on his body, which then goes on a horse that's about 30 feet tall. Yeah, made out of clay. Pretty nifty, I would think. So this is the kind of thing, and it lets me also, as well as just, I'll show you in a minute, I do some formal photography of sculpture as a money-making endeavor than a creative one. But in between shoots, when I have a chance and I'm at the foundry, I like to take more artistic pictures of things that catch my eye. This is a piece of sculpture that I photographed for the artist a few months ago, and then I went back and took some photographs that I wanted of, for example, this heart that this chap had ripped out of somebody's chest. I thought it was an interesting picture. If you've never been to a foundry, you'll find stuff there that you can't find anywhere else, like feet and feathers in the same picture. Yeah, fascinating. And when you get back to your macro, your brain is humming with all of these ideas that you got from looking at this stuff. And if you're not into textures and abstract stuff, you probably won't get this. But big blocks of metal ready to be melted to make feet, presumably, and all of this texture are just wonderful things to behold. And yeah, because you're a macro photographer, you know how to shoot this stuff pretty well already. You know how to deal with reflections. Completely changing tack. Another thing that I do pretty much all the time, continuously, is photograph things that are related to music. I'll take an afternoon off and photograph some guitars for other people or for myself. This is actually one of mine. Coming up with new creative ways to make guitars look interesting and desirable is a lot of fun. This is the kind of practice that is going to open your eyes to making ordinary, everyday Beatles look fascinating by the way you position yourself, the way you light them. Believe me, you do this for any period of time. If you challenge yourself to learn how to shoot musical instruments or pieces of sculpture, you'll very quickly learn that these are lessons that you can carry straight back to your macro. Oh, here's the other bridge photograph. This was the one that I took after looking at the one on the phone that I liked. I went back out in the evening and shot a time lapse to smooth out the water and to pick up some of the light. It was already after dark here, but yeah, I liked that picture. I actually used that as a cover for one of my pursumes. So you don't use a lot of the techniques like long exposures and gosh, what was the other thing I was going to say? Well, you don't use a lot of the landscape techniques that you might routinely use, but it is very nice to have them. It's very nice to know how to shoot a long exposure after dark and get a picture that comes out like this. Certainly the same would go for things like vehicles. I'm not a big car nut, but when this thing drove by, it actually drives, and parked on the street near where I was taking some pictures of some debutantes in the street, I saw this and had to get a picture of it. But yeah, it's another example of creative lighting. Using what you can find in the scene. I actually shot this as an HDR because it was very difficult to get any kind of light on the front of the car because of the way it was backlit. But another skill that you can develop that you may or may not need in your macro photography, but it's good to have. And yeah, this is the kind of thing that to me makes getting back into the studio or getting back out into the field to shoot bugs just absolutely a joy. Architecture is something that will teach you more about lines and geometry, photographic geometry, than almost anything else you'll do. I don't much like doing architectural photography because it's what I sometimes do to make money for the channel, is go out and photograph houses, and yeah, not crazy about it. But I like shooting interiors, but not so much exteriors. But you have to get a feel for geometry that's quite difficult to do with macro photography. This is much more intuitive. To use photographs like this to understand that symmetry matters, and lines matter, and the things we shoot with seed pods or compound eyes can benefit greatly from knowing how to shoot a cathedral, for example. One that is something I don't have a picture of. Let me see. I love to photograph as the sun is going down. And some of my favorite photographs are that way, and this has also informed how I use low light in my photography of insects, especially when I'm doing it deliberately in the studio. I just love the way everything softens out as the colors dim, and everything becomes a little bit more close as the sun is going down. So this is one of my favorite things to do, is to get out into nature or the world and look at things differently than you'd see them for the majority of the day. I think I've got another one of my favorite evening time shots. I was actually with my friend Laura down in Mobile, driving back from an insect shoot, and saw this little church off to the side of the road that it was absolutely captivating. I had to stop and jump out, parked illegally, set up the tripod, and took a couple of pictures of it. And it's that kind of thing. Being able to see a shot when a shot is presented to you is a skill that's useful in any kind of photography that you're doing, I would argue. Sometimes I kind of push it too far, and it's only fair to show you some of that. I had taken this picture. I've taken several pictures of this little bridge that goes nowhere, little dock. I used to live at the end of this dock, basically across the street. And on beautiful summer evenings, it would just sit there, and the water would be so calm, and there'd be nothing out there on the bay. And you can see the other side of the bay. Well, in looking at that one day, I imagined this, and this is one of the things that I recommend, that people who are having trouble with creativity, coming up with clever ideas that they can use to jumpstart or supercharge their insect photography or any kind of macro photography, is to try doing something completely unscripted. In this case, that is not anything that I transferred into this image. This is not a composite. This is an artificially created sphere of glass that I made just using Photoshop techniques. It actually is quite difficult to do, to put the light in the right places and make it actually look like it's a sphere of material. I love doing stuff like that. This is more just a mental break. When I do this, I can't think of anything else because the techniques are tricky, and I've got a particular result in mind, but it's still a good therapeutic break for me. And I really love to composite. I do. I love to take scenes that I can see in my mind and make them using whatever techniques I can either know or can learn. This was one of the first things I did in that. I saw a terrible picture of me that I'd taken for some kind of an ID that I needed, and I thought that would be much more interesting if if the room was filling up with water. So I just made this tank and put myself in it, just as fun and practice. But you will learn so much about layers and what you put on layers and how you make things visible and how you blend them together by doing a silly thing like this. Just like you'll learn how to move parts around if you take a picture of yourself with 7 arms. which is, yeah, there they are. They're all doing something interesting, but that's the kind of thing that I just find not so much directly helpful, because I don't do a lot of compositing in my insect photography, but knowing how to do it has made me better at Photoshop. So do this for a little while and then come back, and if you're not more creative, then yeah, I've missed the point. So astrophotography is different. It's different than almost any other kind of distraction in photography, because it really is more technical, I think, than what we do in macro, and that's saying something. I think the benefit of doing astro, we really would need to talk to somebody like Julie, who is an expert in this area, but you have to take care of so many technical issues to shoot stars and celestial bodies well, much the same way as you have to take care of so many details to shoot tiny objects, that there is a real parallel there. I think it teaches you to be thorough and exact and careful, and to plan ahead, all the things that will end up giving you better pictures in the macro studio. I don't know really enough about macro, sorry, I hope I know something about macro. I don't know enough about astro to talk knowledgeably on it. I've gone out maybe a dozen times to shoot the Milky Way, and I think I got it. It's hard to tell from my photographs. It could just be a smudge, but you know, the obsessing over noise and sharpness when you're shooting things that are billions of miles away gets you in the right mindset for taking a good sharp picture in macro, no doubt about it. Another one of my personal favorites, and something that I have done both for money and continue to do for pure enjoyment, is product photography and everything related to it. Product photography demands accuracy at a level that I don't think anything else other than maybe macro does. But in product photography, you have to represent whatever it is you're photographing as accurately and as completely as you possibly can. You have to have the perfect lighting, you have to have perfect everything, so that when a person looks at this picture, they could not distinguish it from the real thing. In some cases, your product photography is designed to make it look better than it actually is, but yeah, I won't get into that. One kind of product photography is a cross between industrial macro and product. This is a reader from a whatchamacallit, a compact disc player, something like that. I just ripped it out of something just to see what it looked like, but it's a teeny tiny thing, and it's the kind of thing that you have to get the lighting right. This wasn't a particularly good photograph. It's just to give you an idea of some of the things that you'll find out there in the world. Let me see if I've got any other product stuff. I didn't load it down because I know I've shown so much of that in the past. I got my own stuff. I for a time was making these photographers bracelets, which I made myself in my spare time. I also photographed them, took thousands and thousands of pictures, looking for pictures that I could use to kind of advertise them. I never ended up selling enough of the things to make it worthwhile, but it was fun to do, and I got to do lots and lots of interesting photography in doing the marketing materials, and this is the kind of thing that I did. And if you don't think that kind of photograph is as demanding of detail and as what we do in macro, you're definitely missing my point. It is really, you have to think about every single moment of what you're doing, and make sure that everything that needs to be in focus is in focus. I wanted the buckle in focus and the front of the bracelet, but I didn't want the back of the bracelet in focus. So you have to think about that just like you do when you're composing a shot in macro. So a lot of the time with product photography, you're dealing with reflective surfaces. Shiny things are everywhere in macro, just like in product, just like are in macro. So learning how to effectively cross-polarize, use diffusers. I would say that almost all of the difficult lighting management that I learned came from the times when I'd step away from macro and focus on doing product stuff, and usually set myself a few really challenging products to shoot, and it would just get me in the right mood. I don't think I've got any more of that. Yeah, I do actually have a couple of still life shots that were a little challenging. I went out in the desert in California with my brother, who's into this kind of thing. Not my cup of tea, but I went with him and took some pictures, and was surprised to find there were quite a lot of very interesting pictures that could be taken just watching a guy shoot guns. But I enjoyed it, and I liked some of the results I got from it. It was the same week that after getting back home, I ran into something that you just don't see very much where I'm from, and that's a balloon. So I followed it along, walking down the lane and trying to catch it every time they turned the afterburners on, or whatever that thing there is. But it's a very interesting picture, and for me that was the same kind of skill set that you need to just go out into nature and be slow and be still and wait for stuff to happen and be ready to photograph it. I did not plan on going out to shoot a hot air balloon while its afterburner was on. I just was in the right place at the right time. Now you can, just like with macro, I tell folks all the time, if you want to get some really fantastic insect pictures, go out early in the day or late in the afternoon, because that's when you're gonna get the insects either still asleep or slowing down in the evening, and your light's going to be perfect. I do that for almost every kind of outdoor photography I do, and almost all of the photographs that I have over the years that I just love were done in that kind of light and that kind of mood. So thoroughly enjoy doing that kind of thing. I may have shown this picture earlier. Yeah, probably I did. But this was a winter photograph of a sunset near where I lived. I'll just, I don't want to miss any of these pictures, because I picked them all out for a reason. We were talking earlier about portraits and learning how to use light in ways that are creative and make your subjects look good. This subject didn't need to be made to look good, because he's already a handsome chap. It's just an example of spontaneous portraiture. It's my son, and I just snapped a picture of him one evening with just light from a shop window. There's a lot to be learned. The street photography, or maybe you'd more call it, this actually was taken when I was out wandering the streets looking for things to photograph, this next one, and it's the kind of photograph that will teach you a lot about light and lighting and depth of field and mood, and making the best of not much in the picture. But I love this picture. I love the way the everything is softens and becomes kind of nondescript in the background. This is certainly a way I like to show my subjects in macro when I'm trying to keep it mysterious or interesting. I showed a picture of a house earlier on. There is something else that I love to do, which is a combination of urban architectural photography and creepy composite photography. I don't think I have the original picture. You're confused, I'm sure, but I took a picture of a house because I kind of thought it looked interesting, but not particularly outstanding. I'm trying to find it so that I can show you the before and after. The original house was just a derelict house. It's since been locked down, but I turned it into something a little more interesting. And when I find the original, I'll show it to you. It's very dark. It's very creepy looking. But this, oh dear, lost it. Oh, I don't know where it is now. Let me see if I can find it. Anyway, there it is. It was, it's playful, but it's also something that I've done with anthropomorphized insects. If I want them to look sinister, I'll do what I did here and add fog or mist, and you know, create an atmosphere that's a little more than you got with the photograph. And knowing how to do that is useful. Another thing we don't use a whole lot in macro photography, certainly in insect photography, is long exposure, like I was showing you earlier with the bridge. This was just a little stream near where I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, and you know, I'm so glad I learned these techniques and learned how to make a waterfall look more magical than it probably normally would. It's a wonderful technique to have, but also you have to see this before you shoot it. I mean, you can't look at this little stream and see what it's going to look like. I should have brought a picture of just a snapshot of the place. It's because it's a very ordinary looking run of water down into a little depression there. But when the lighting was right in the evening and the exposure was long, it just makes it look quite magical, I thought. And that is a skill that only comes with taking pictures. And you can't take enough pictures in the studio to tell you anything about the feeling of transforming an ordinary little stream near where you live into something that you want to look at again and again because of how you photographed it. But that's what you're trying to bring into the macro studio. It's what you're trying to bring into your macro photography. It's just easier to access it in some other areas and to practice there. And this is one example of that. Architecture. This is actually a composite. It's a building in Mobile, Alabama. But yeah, I put a sky that I'd photographed the day before on top of it to make it look a bit more interesting. It didn't. It's not interesting, but I show it just to show you how you can mess up a sky, really. But I do love industrial buildings, falling apart buildings, anything that has a story. You know how I feel about stories. It is really hard to tell compelling stories with macro subjects. I admit that. It's not hard at all to do it with old buildings and decrepit industrial sites and this kind of thing. Building is next door to the picture, the one I just showed you. It's the next building towards the river, and yeah, it just speaks volumes. I love that image. It's even better, by the way, in black and white. I later converted it to black and white, but can't find the copy because I didn't take the Lester Lefkowitz advice on how to organize my Lightroom, so I don't know where to find my pictures. And that video will be out hopefully this weekend. I have just been too busy to get to it. Surprise, surprise. This is another one of my architectural efforts. This is actually a building that a friend of mine, a friend of yours too, Miss Laura, worked in this building, and yeah, I took a photograph of it so that I could give it to her for when she moved back up to Illinois, and that was the result. Interesting picture. So again, there's a lot to be learned there. Perspective. You know, you don't have to take pictures to learn about how to take pictures. There are a lot of things that people do that have nothing directly to do with it. Painting and drawing, incredible skills to have. I love photographing aeroplanes. I mentioned that to you. These jets move very, very fast, and with a handheld 600mm lens, yeah, it's hard to get good pictures, but yeah, I did my best. Anyway, drawing, sketching, anything that you do that is going to flex your creative muscles and give you a different view of the world is going to be helpful when you're using that experience to find new ways to look at insects. Gardening, believe it or not, I'm allergic to gardening. I don't do it. It's bad for my health, but they say it makes you more patient and gives you a deeper sense of cycles and what have you. It just gives me sneezing fits and makes me tired and sweaty, so I try not to do it. Rock collecting. I know a lot of you are big into collecting rocks, and it is the best way to learn about textures and colors in nature. Rocks are fascinating and they make for great photographs, but so do falling apart buildings. This is an old iron foundry and blast furnace site in Birmingham, Alabama. It's been closed for, I don't know, 100 years, but they've kept it, and it's an incredible place to walk around and take pictures. I've been there so many times. My pictures are, these are, you know, very old now, and they were taken with an entry-level camera, and I enjoy looking at them because there's a real sense of scale here, and there's a lot we can learn about scale and how to depict it for our insect shots from looking at this, where we can position the camera to make things like this boiler look more impressive than maybe it did in real life. Okay, just a couple more. A couple of people photographs. That one just spoke volumes about a story that I don't know the ending to, but this guy's a veteran. I ended up talking to him and asked him if I could use his picture, and he said I could. That's all he did the whole day, was sit there. I don't think he had a worm on the end of his hook, but that wasn't the point. He just enjoyed being out there. And yeah, another picture that actually looked great in black and white. So seeing stuff and grabbing it with your camera is a skill that's never gonna be lost in macro or anything else you do. I love perspective and the whole idea of being able to show more of the world than you think the camera should. I saw this line of trees as I was driving home one day out in the country, and yeah, just had to get out and set up a tripod and take a photograph of it because it just looked so surreal sitting there. And this is also the kind of thing that informs my my close-up work. Music. Can you believe it that music, maybe learning an instrument or practicing an instrument you already know, is also a great way to keep your creativity limbered up and keep you open to options, as is doing things with magic. It's not really magic. This is one of my compositing efforts. This was actually done without any help. I had to position myself on a chair, and then the remote control for the camera is in my other hand. It was really difficult to do this and get it right, but it's a lot of fun, and I've done this with many insect photographs. I think I've shown enough pictures. I think what I really ought, I did find the picture of that house that I made super creepy. There it is. Let me see if I can find the other one. So it already looked kind of creepy, but yeah, darkening it down and adding more mist and what have you. Okay, is that everything? How about a little, yeah, we'll celebrate. I just photographed some video of fireworks the other night, but yeah. Do you get my point that cross-training is not walking away from macro photography. You're not abandoning your work. You're also not engaging with this idea that I was talking about at the beginning of this afternoon, where you're just doggedly slogging away to become better at something that you need a break from. Recognizing you need a break is when you just don't feel enthusiastic about getting out there and doing it. Sometimes it's good, I think it's a good idea to push yourself a little bit to see whether or not your lack of enthusiasm is real, or maybe you're just distracted or tired. But most of the time, if you've been working on projects and really focusing on your macro, and every free minute is building your rig and getting ready to take pictures, and you're not happy with what you're seeing, step away from it. It's not going to do you any harm, and it can do you a lot of good. If you're not seeing the compositions, then get out there and find ways to challenge yourself to compose on the fly. Take street photography and try doing that. I was going to suggest that each and every one of you out there take just a random day this coming week and pick a genre of photography and go do it for 1 hour. Go take one picture in your local area of a landscape or a building or a person, and just see if that doesn't help reset your balance a little bit. I know a lot of you do this anyway, but for those of you who don't, I think that taking a break is a truly vital and inescapable part of improving in any realm of human endeavor. The fact that many of us grew up in a professional life anyway, where that was just not accepted as the way to go. I mean, as a surgeon, you weren't supposed to take breaks or need to take breaks or want to take breaks. You're supposed to just keep getting better and better. And it is a bit backwards, but in our more enlightened lives now, I think that we can really maximize what we get out of this hobby by every now and again walking away from it for just a little bit. And if you want to talk about this again and get into some specifics of other kinds of photography, I'm always happy to talk about it. I'm not an expert at any of them, but I have done all of them and continue to do. I think the only genres that I haven't done are underwater photography, because I don't like going underwater. I used to dive, but had a bad experience. And what's the other kind of, I've even done boudoir photography, but I couldn't show any of those pictures this evening because of YouTube again. But anyway, come up with something that you want to try and give it a shot. You don't have to spend any money on it. You don't need any special gear. Just grab a camera and go out and shoot some people. And if you get punched in the nose, sorry about that. It does happen. I've come close 2 times and have become a little more circumspect about street photography lately. But anyway, it's 3 o'clock and I have a lesson to teach. I might teach it on a non-macro subject today. I am motivated to get out and do something different. But I'm too busy, so you'll have to do it for me. Thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate your patience. I have not said hello to anybody, but my desk is now covered in 1,000 pictures. Now I can see. Joseph, his face has gone blue and he's shouting at somebody. Roy's here. David's here. David, Roy, welcome. Arthur's here. Let me see. Who can I get to? Zeno's here. Joseph, Julie, David, Julie. Julie, a super chat. Thank you so much. That is very kind of you. Is that chicken wearing a headband? I would take a picture of that. Not all the Beatles played guitars. Ringo plays drums. Joseph's telling me that. Joseph, I grew up in the same town as John Lennon and Paul McCartney, on the same street, no less. I was only a baby though, and don't remember any of it. Just me, welcome. Depending on how many files there are, you could hit a limit on the number of files in a folder. Okay, that's a mysterious comment that I don't understand. I'll learn about later. That's it. We're out of time. Larry, who is very seasonal in his photography, yeah, he's varied. I know Larry's photography is varied because he takes a lot of interesting pictures. Larry, we're going to miss you tomorrow. Be safe on your travels up north, and we'll see you when you get back. Susan is here. Greetings, my friend. I'm glad to see you with us. And let me see, am I missing anybody? I'm missing Anna Nanu from Greece. Is that right? Close to Greece. Bud is here, which is nice. Alistair's here. Thank you, Alistair. Thank you, Bud. And thank you, Amy, for everything you do for the channel. You are very much appreciated. And now I've forgot somebody, I'm sure, and they're going to be hurt. But please don't, because I think I've covered everybody. If I didn't, it was not on purpose. Roy Walker, greetings from Worcestershire. That's not how you pronounce it. It's Worcestershire. Roy knows that, but you might not. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Saturday for Pazoom, or I'll see you on Saturday for Tangent, or I'll see you next week. Either way, take care. I'm not going to promise to have my camera and everything fixed by then. It seems to be the kiss of death when I say that, so it's just going to be bad forever. Take care, and I will see you later.